Welcome students. So, in the process of inventory management, now we come to the question of funding the inventory. Whatever the level of inventory we have decided to build up, $1,000,000 question is how to fund the inventory, from where the funds will come, which will be used to fund the inventory or the funds to be invested for building a given level of or optimum level of inventory. See, when we talk about the different sources of the finance, I will discuss with you later on after we finish the discussion on all the assets. When we will come to the liability side, then we will talk about all the sources of finance, sources of the short term finance or sources of the working capital management. But in case of say manufacturing sector in India, when there is a need of the working capital management for funding the different current assets, maybe it is the inventory, maybe it is the credit sales, maybe keeping the cash or paying in advance as a prepaid expenses. Though we have 9-10 sources around the globe, 9-10 sources are available for funding the say inventory requirements of the companies. But in India, the most prominent source which is used for funding the inventory or the funds which are invested in the inventory, they come from one single source or largely from the one single source, that is the bank finance. See, as I told you in the previous discussions or previous classes, that when you talk about the sources of funds to fulfill the working capital requirements, we have three sources: spontaneous finance, short term finance, and once these two sources are fully exhausted, then we have to go for the or resort to the third source, which is the long term sources of the finance and investing long term sources to fulfill the short term requirements. That is the third source, but that should be used as minimum as possible. Now, spontaneous finance is the first thing which is used to fund the inventory, because when we buy the inventory, when we buy the raw material, we buy it from the suppliers, and suppliers are asked by the companies, by the manufacturers, that they should supply it on credit, because this is symbiosis. Manufacturer gets the credit from the supplier and he gives the credit to the buyer. So, once he is expecting the credit from the supplier, he is bound to give the credit to the buyer, and if he is bound to give the credit to the buyer, he also has the right to expect the credit from the supplier. So, supplier agrees because they have a long term supply arrangements with the buyer and between the buyer and the sellers. So, seller also gets the long term agreement, long term opportunity, that yes, if I am having the acceptable terms of in this agreement, and if I get the long term supply orders from this particular company, is good for me also, and I would be giving some credit period to the company. But if my payment is safe and company is ready to pay some interest also for the credit period, how bad it is for me. But his capacity is also limited. So, part of the funding of the inventory comes from the supplier, but the supplier's funding is largely about the raw material. After that, when the raw material comes and it goes to the manufacturing process, you have the inventory of WIP also, and you have the inventory of the finished goods also. That inventory of the finished goods, who will fund that inventory of finished goods? So, after the spontaneous finance is over or the credit available from the supplier is over, that source is fully exhausted, then we have to resort to the short term sources of the finance. And as I told you, there are 9-10 sources of finance around the globe, around the world, which forms use in the different countries, in the different parts of the world. In India also, largely now after liberalization, most of these sources are available, but only one source is used to the maximum possible extent, and that source is the bank finance. Reason for that is that it is easily available as compared to other sources. It is cheap also, easily available also, more regular, more secured, and comparatively cheaper source of finance. So, companies resort to this source of finance. Other sources, even the bank finance in detail, I will discuss with you later on, but here in the passing reference I can tell you that funding of inventory, once that source spontaneous finance is over, second important source is the bank finance. Now, when the banks fund the inventory, banks not only funding the inventory, bank funds the all working capital requirements of the companies, the manufacturers. They fund the inventory also, they fund the credit sales, means accounts receivables also. People can withdraw cash also from the bank account or from the sanctioned amount, and they fund the prepayments also to the extent it is possible. The total amount sanctioned by the banks for fulfilling the short-term requirements of the manufacturers, bank is supposed to divide that total amount sanctioned into the different assets, that this much amount out of this, for example, bank sanctions the say total working capital help or assistance. I do not call the name or the mode of delivery of those funds, that can be any. There are the three modes of providing the funds. One is the cash credit limit, second is the working capital loan, and third is the discounting of the credit sale bills. I have talked to you something about the credit sale bills in the previous class also, but I will discuss it again. So, one is the CC limit, second is the working capital loan, and third one is the discounting of the credit sale bills. Now, most prominent, most liked, preferred source for the manufacturer or for the borrower is the CC limit, because the beauty of the CC limit is that when the CC limit is sanctioned by the bank to the borrower or to any manufacturer, in that case a certain sum mutually agreed by both the sides is sanctioned by the bank, say for example 1 million, 10 lakh rupees are sanctioned as a CC limit, and an account of the borrower is opened by the bank in the said branch, and an amount of 10 lakhs, 1 million is credited or provided in that account. Now, that amount 10 lakhs should be used for the different purposes, means for financing different assets in the different components. Like part of the 10 lakhs can be used for funding the inventory, part of the 10 lakhs can be used for funding the credit sales, part of the 10 lakhs can be used for the prepayments, part of the 10 lakh can be used for making the payments as a cash. Now, when it is a divided sum, for example, out of 10 lakh rupees, bank says that half of the amount, 5 lakh rupees, half a million can be used for funding the inventory. Half a million can be used for funding the inventory, as in time when you want to buy the inventory, you can withdraw money from this account and then you can make the payment. But that is true to the suppliers, that too to the suppliers. So, it means 50% of the funds are available out of the CC limit, half of that 1 million rupees that is available for making the payment to the suppliers, and that can be used for supporting the inventories. Now, in this case, this is the normal situation. Banks when sanction these limits, this is a normal situation, but sometimes when the credit flow squeezes with the banks, when the credit supply with the banks gets affected, when the funds available with the banks to be provided as a loans or the working capital limits or working capital loans to the people gets restricted, then those restrictions, shortage of the funds also affects the working capital funds to be provided by the banks to the manufacturers. So, what the banks do, that for example, bank has for example 50 crores normally, but because of some credit restrictions maybe from the different sources, because normally the funds come to the banks from the deposits, maybe under the different regulations of RBI, that fund which is available with the banks to be invested in the market as a loans, that keeps on fluctuating. So, because of some changes in the economic in the monetary policy by RBI, or some changes in the CRR or some other monetary policy changes by the RBI, if there is a reduction of the funds available with the bank, there is a restriction on the funds, the surplus funds or the funds, investable funds available with the banks, then the impact of that restriction comes on the different CC limits also. Banks also say pass on those restrictions to the different CC limits also, and they start rationing the loans or the working capital funds or the funds provided through the cash credit limits to the different manufacturers. So, that is called as restrictions of working capital by the banks or rationing of the working capital by the banks, whatever the name you call it as. But for example, earlier it was 1 million, now the banks can say that we are reducing your limit for the time being, it will not be now 1 lakh, you can only withdraw up to 8 lakh rupees. Now, what is CC limit, how it works, I will discuss with you later on, but see, this is a limit that up to earlier up to 10 lakh rupees somebody can withdraw and use the funds for fulfilling their working capital requirements. But now the restrictions are imposed, and because of that restrictions on the availability of the funds with the banks, banks have further passed on those restrictions to the borrowers, and CC limits are restricted from the or brought down. CC limit is brought down from the 1 million 10 lakh to the 8 lakh rupees. It means there is a restriction of 2 lakh rupees. The CC limit account has gone down by 2 lakh rupees, and now only 8 lakh of the funds will be available. So, it means when 8 lakhs will be available, it will have the impact upon all the assets. Inventory funding will also be affected, credit sales funding will also be affected, prepayments say financing will also be affected, similarly the cash position will also be affected. So, that situation is called as the say rationing or restrictions of the working capitals imposed by the banks on the different manufacturers. So, now we will discuss here that if this kind of the situation arises and any kind of the restrictions are imposed by the banks on funding of the inventory, maybe of the raw material, maybe of the WIP or maybe of the finished goods, then how the company can deal with that situation. Now, roughly without going further into detail, you can easily make out that we discussed in the previous class that we decide the level of inventory to be maintained at one particular point of time, that is by following a technique of inventory management which is called as EOQ, economic order quantity. And that economic order quantity we find out by taking into consideration different costs. Largely the costs are two. One is the carrying cost, the investment made to fund the inventory, and other is the ordering cost or the setup cost. Now, what will happen? We have decided this EOQ, and EOQ is that the EOQ level of that, we have seen the sort of picture, and the Q level we are deciding, that is the economic order quantity, or that is the economic quantity we wanted to buy where both the costs are equal. But now because there is a restriction of the funds available, so what will happen, that Q level will go down. Now, if for example, if you see here, our Q level will go down, and in this case when you talk about the Q level, this is the level we decided. Here it is our Q level in the normal course, and this way this structure was going on as we have seen in the previous classes. This was working like this. This is our Q level. But when the restriction is imposed by the banks and the funds are not available, so what will happen? This Q will come down to this place. So, now our structure will come up something like this is this one, and this is not the earlier structure. This structure will we have to follow. So, this level of the Q. So, it means from this level to this level the funds have been say restricted by the banks. So, now you have to bring it down. And if it happens, so what will happen? In the next case, we have decided the structure on the basis of these two costs. This is your carrying cost, this is your ordering cost. So, what will happen? Your carrying cost will go down, because we were investing, say for example, into our inventory, we were investing earlier 4 lakh rupees. Now, if only, or we were investing 5 lakh rupees. Now, if the 4 lakhs are available, so what will happen? Our carrying cost will come down. If the carrying cost comes down like this, so what will happen? It will increase your ordering cost. Why it is increasing the ordering cost? Because our requirement is Q, but now it has been revised to Q star. So, now we have to buy smaller amounts of the quantity, but our production process is continuous. So, when the production process is continuous, but you are buying in the smaller quantities, so what will happen? Frequently you have to place the orders. Frequently you have to place the orders. So, it means we are keeping a small stock of inventory, not that huge amount of inventory or the EOQ level of inventory. We are keeping now inventory because of the non-availability of the funds as the result of the restrictions imposed by the banks. We will have now the Q star level, not the Q level. So, our inventory level will go down, and we are regularly utilizing the inventory as we were utilizing it in the past when no restrictions were there. In that case, your stock will be out of, we will be in the situation of out of stock, or our orders will be, or our level of the stock will be exhausting at the faster rate, because it has come down from the EOQ level. So, we have to place the orders time and again. We have to misput the orders again and again. So, what will happen? Though you have reduced the level of inventory to be kept as a stock, so your carrying cost will go down. Investment to be made in the inventory has gone down from the 5 lakh to 4 lakhs. So, you are paying the interest on the 4 lakhs. That cost has gone down, but because you are ordering it again and again and again, because the order size has become smaller, so your ordering cost will go up. So, what will happen in that case? Your EOQ level will have to be changed. We have to now come down from the Q level to the Q star level, and then we will have to see that not this level, at this level we are, and then we will come down. For example, when we will come here, so at this is a reordering level. So, when we will come here, this is a reordering level. So, when you come here, you have to place the order, and then it will not be allowed to go up to this level. It will, replacement of the inventory will take you to this level. Quickly it will come down to this level, and we will have to place the order. So, many orders, the ordering cost will increase and the carrying cost will go down. So, earlier we saw that EOQ was when both the costs were equal. Now, both the costs are not equal. One cost has gone down, another cost has gone up. So, we will have to bear the brunt of that, but we will have to deal with the situation. So, how to deal with that situation? We will again learn it with the help of an example, that if this kind of restrictions are imposed by the banks, because we are largely depending upon the banks for funding the working capital requirements in India. So, if this kind of restrictions sometime are imposed by the banks, then how the manufacturers have to deal with this situation, or how they have to solve this kind of the problem, we will have to learn this today. So, we will see how it happens. So, for example, we take the example of a company who is using the 3 types of items or for example, they are buying the in their inventory 5 type of the items they are using, and these items are, for example, we take here as the item number, and then we are talking about the annual demand. This is the annual demand, item number, annual demand, and then is the unit cost. This is the unit cost in rupees. Items we have A, we have B, we have C, we have D, and we have E. We have the 5 types of the inventories we are using. 5 types of items are keeping in the inventory, and annual demand of these items is in terms of the units. This is in the units. This is in terms of units is this. This is 1500 units. This is 2250 units. This is 6000 units. This is 30,000 units. And this is 45,000 units. Right? We are using these units of 1500 units of A, 2250 units of B, 6000 units of C, 30,000 units of product D, and say 45,000 units of product E, right. So, let us see now what is the unit cost. Per unit cost of these raw material is how much. Say for example, it is 7 rupees and 50 paisa, it is in rupees. In this case it is 25 rupees. In this case it is 12.5 rupees. In this case it is 15 rupees. In this case it is 5 rupees. This is the unit cost which is given to us or which is available with us. Now, other costs are ordering cost is ordering cost is rupees 25 per order, and carrying cost is 20% per annum. Carrying cost is 20% per annum. These are the 2 costs, right. Now, if everything goes normal, then we are happy with this kind of the situation. We are using 5 kind of the materials. units required are these much given here, and the unit cost or the cost per unit of the different these 5 types of the materials is like this. Now, bank imposes the restrictions, you call it as bank restrictions, and these are up to the amount of 2000 rupees, up to the amount of 2000 rupees. Say whatever the capital was or the CC limit was sanctioned by the bank to fund the inventory, to buy the inventory and to use the inventory. Bank was providing certain sum out of the total sum sanctioned in the CC limit. Whatever that sum was, we will find that 2000 is now reduced by the bank. There is a restriction of 2000 rupees. We have kept a small amount knowingly just for the sake of simplicity, that there is a restriction by the bank that whatever the amount you have been using to fund your inventory by borrowing from us, now you will be borrowing 2000 rupees less as compared to the amount we have been borrowing in the past. Now, how to deal with this kind of situation? This is a small situation, how to deal with this. So, again what we have to do is, now again we have to work out the EOQ level, economic order quantity we have to work out. First we have to work out the existing EOQ level out of this, and then we will see that if the restrictions are imposed by the bank, how to work out the revised EOQ level. That is, I just saw you in the structure that now we have to work out this Q star level. So, how to calculate this Q star level or the revised EOQ level, we will have to look for it, because now the one cost is going up and the another cost is going down. So, it means certainly it will change your economic order quantity also. Now, let us see what happens, how we will do it. First of all, from the existing situation, from the existing data, you calculate what was our existing EOQ. Say for example, what was the QA? If you try to find out the QA, what was from the existing without restrictions, how much was the QA? That is 2 into demand is, requirement is 1500 unit, and then the cost per unit is ordering cost is multiplied by the ordering cost is 25, and then we have the unit cost which is 7 rupees and 50 paisa, and your carrying cost is, we have to take here as the carrying cost is just 20%. The carrying cost is 20%. If you solve this, you will work out as that our EOQ is 223.6. Or you can say it is 224 units. This is the level of the EOQ or the economic order quantity, you call it as Q level in case of the unrestricted amount available, which is say originally sanctioned by the bank. Our EOQ level or the QA in case of the A was 224 units. So, what we will have to do is, we will have to now find out the average inventory. It means average inventory is how much? Average inventory is just when you calculate this like this, you take here, when it goes like this, you have to divide it half, because this much of the investment we assume always remains invested in the, this much of the funds always remain invested in the inventory. So, now we will have to find out the average inventory here, and when you have to find out the average inventory, in that case what is average inventory here now? Average inventory is 224 divided by 2, so it will be 112 units. 112 units. So, earlier when we had say 224 is a total requirement, this was the total requirement 224, and what was the our cost? Annual demand is how much? 1500 units. Annual demand is this much, Q level is, EOQ level is 224. So, number of orders we are having, number of orders per year, number of orders per year are going to be how much? That is the same amount here, and that will come out as 6.70 orders. This is the original case, this is the original situation. So, we are annually placing 6.70 orders. Our ordering cost is, cost per order is 25 per order, and the carrying cost was 20%, and our average inventory we are keeping here is, that is 112 units. This is the original case. Now, on the basis of this all calculations, you first have to work out, or the firm first has to work out the EOQ level for all the 5 items, number of orders, and on the basis of the ordering cost and the total investment which is required to be made, we will have to create a situation that to find out what is the existing situation with us, and if there is no restriction by the bank, then what will be the case, that how much funds are available to us and how we are utilizing these funds. So let us work out the EOQ level, EOQ for all 5 items of inventory, all 5 items of inventory. So we will take here the item number, right, this is the item number, then we take the unit cost, this is the unit cost, then we have to take the order size, this is the order size, then we have to take the number of orders, number of orders per year, number of orders per year, then is the average inventory, average inventory in units, average inventory in units, and then we have to work out the investment in inventory rupees, investment in the inventory in rupees. So let us take all the items here, A, then it is B, it is C, it is D, it is E. Cost per unit is given to us 7 rupees 50 paisa, 25 rupees, then it is 12.5, then it is 15, and it is 5, right. Order size, as we have seen how to calculate it, 224 it was in case of A, we just saw, 150 in the second case, 346 in the third case, 707 in the fourth, and in the fifth item the order size is 1500 units. Number of orders per year 6.7, sorry, number of units 6.7, here it is 15, number of orders 15, then it is 17.34, then it is 42.43, and then it is 30. Average inventory you can easily find out by from this column, 112, it is 75, it is 346, so it means we have 173. Here in this case it is 354, and in the last case we have 750. This is the number of average inventory, the units which are there in the inventory. Now you can easily find out the investment in the inventory. That is the number of units you have here, this and this, right. 112, 75, 173, 354, 750 units are there. And what is the per unit cost? We have here the per unit cost per unit. You can multiply this. So it means 112 into this much. So how much it works out? This is the total investment is total investment we have to work out. So 112 units, and the cost per unit is 7.5. So it means this is the 840 rupees are invested in A generally. 1875 is invested in B, then is the 173 into 12.5, this is 2162 here, and then is the next part is 354 multiplied by 15, so it is 5310, and then it is 3750, right. So this is the total investment we have to find out, and if you total it up, this works out as how much? 13,927. This is in rupees. This is the total investment which is made in the inventory in all the 5 items before say imposing the restrictions by the bank, this much of the funds are invested by the company into the inventory by borrowing it from the bank. And now see, number of orders per year is how much? This is, if you total it up, it works out as, this is 7, this is 4, this is 11, and then it is 18, 20. So it means 21. So it is say 1 and it is 1. So 111.47 are the number of orders. This is the investment which is blocked in the inventory all the times. So we are utilizing the bank finance or the funds provided by the banks through CC limit. From that total limit, 13,927 are say blocked in the investment or in the form of investment in the funding of inventory. So it is here. Now this money will not be available to us. 13,927 in total will not be available to us. What will be available to us is, that is 13,927 minus 2,000, because this is a restriction imposed by the bank. So now the amount available to us will be 11,927, right? 11,927 will be available to us now, because this much is going to be withdrawn by the bank. So it is 11,927 amount is there. Sorry, this amount we have to say, it is not 27, this is the, this amount is not 27, I think it is 37. So here also it is 37, it is not 27, please correct it. So it is the amount of 37, because it is 5 to 7, then it is 11, and then it is this is 17, 18, 20, yeah 3, it is 37, it is 37. Here it is 37, at all the places it is 37. So now we are available with the funds, that is 11,937, because 2,000 are withdrawn. So if this money is left with us, not this, but this is available with us, it means now we have to run the show with this 11,937 rather than the earlier amount we had 13,937. So it means the production process should be smoothly going on. Availability of the material should also be sufficiently there in the firm. The overall operation should not get affected. We have to run the show also. We have to make sure that raw material is also available. Money has also gone down. The funds available have also gone down by 2,000 rupees. Here we are taking 2,000, but in the actual situation it can be in crores. So if it is restriction is imposed out of say 100 crore, for example, the bank says that you run the show with the 70 crores, it means at the EOQ level we had worked out the EOQ level at the level of 100 crores. You have to now revise the EOQ level with the 70 crores. So we will have to see how much difference it makes. So in this case, now available investment with us is 11,937. So how to use it, how to run the show with this 11,937, and how to say carry on the production process smoothly, so that inventory level is also maintained, production process is also smooth, and there is no impact of this as such. To the extent we are able to manage it, we would manage it, but how to manage it and how to say run the show with this reduced amount of 11,937, where we have the restriction of 2,000s, we will learn in the next class. Thank you very much.